Hello, hello. It is officially Women's History Month. I'm a Pisces, so it is also my birthday month. And what better way to kick off Women's History Month, to kick off my birthday month, than to talk about wealth and talk about women and wealth and how we can take control of what that looks like in our lives. So many times as women, we are planning for all the people we love. We're planning for our communities. We're planning for the people we work with or we work for, and thinking about how we can accumulate things, assets for our own benefit, for our family's benefit, is a very important way to balance all that we give, all that we are for other people in ways that visually benefit us. So, yes, you can have the trip you've been looking forward to. Yes, you can have the retirement that you've dreamed of. Yes, you can continue to provide for your family, for legacies, for generations to come. And today we're talking about some of the ways you can do that via your estate plan. So, if you don't know why this conversation matters, it matters because taking control of your wealth is more possible now than ever, but it is increasingly becoming more unlikely. And why? Because many people don't feel empowered to do it. They say, why do I need it? That's additional expense that I don't want to incur. I don't have enough to really plan for. And I often remind people, as big as you dream is as big as life delivers. And so women are workers, and often we have to remember to still be dreamers, to still set big, huge goals for ourselves, and still live in an expectation that we can have those things. So in today's webinar, we will cover why estate planning is so important, particularly for women, what it actually involves, how women can begin to use these strategies to begin to protect their wealth so they have something for themselves and something to pass on to others. We'll give you some basics about estate laws, and we'll give you some ways you can take control of your legacy. Hi, I'm Eleanor Curry. I am a real estate and business attorney with a real passion for al- allowing the dream to expand beyond yourself. That may be being a business owner, that may be being a real estate investor, and expanding it to your family, to your communities in ways that can last for generations. And really, what we try to do as a one-stop legal shop for business owners and real estate owners is bring education, bring knowledge to the table. Because when we talk about legacy, you're not just passing on assets as part of what we help you with, but there is some intention surrounding that asset, and that may be, hey, this is so you can have the head start I never had, so you could buy your first house or start your first business, or always have a house to live in, or health insurance, and all those things can be part of how you sculpt a legacy that can last for many years. So, over the next 20 years, we know that as baby boomers retire, people are transferring their businesses, they're transferring their funds, they're inheriting a significant amount of um, wealth through inheritance. And you have to think about how you can not just take it, but maintain it so you have something to give the next generation, not just what you got, but growth from that point. And the reality is that many women are not prepared to manage what they are going to, or they're set to inherit, and they're increasingly becoming the primary breadwinners. They're becoming the primary holders of wealth, either through inheritance, through divorce settlement, through entrepreneurship, and they have a longer life expectancy. So what you are planning and what you've accumulated in your life, you may need for your own care, comfort, and support as you get older and as life unfolds, and sometimes in some unexpected ways. So we want to make sure that you can be financially stable, but you also have the knowledge to understand where you are, where you want to go, and how you make the in between, right? How you bypass where you are to where you actually want to be. For women, 61% of women do not have a will, even though we are such providers in our lifetime. Often, what we do for ourselves is put last. And so, investing in a plan for your estate, what happens to my family, we just don't think about it. And we only think about it in response to when we're caring for others. So that odd is that those statistics are very similar. That 58 to 59% of women lack any estate planning documents. That's not just a will. That can be additional ancillaries of medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney. All of those things are included when we think about your estate planning documents. women are 20% less likely to have estate plans than men. And when it comes to the traditional roles of breadwinners, so you need to set a plan, and women may not see themselves in that space, mental headspace, even though they may physically be in the space. They may be the provider. They certainly are the hand that rocks the cradle. They're nurturing the family, and in that nurturing, you may not want to think about death. You may not want to think about worst case scenarios, but they do happen. Death is the only guarantee that we have once we're born, and so it's an important part of navigating what your family needs. And then we know only 29% of adults have a healthcare directive, and that's saying, hey, if someone has to make health decisions for me, what do I want to happen? What's important to me? What matters? Maybe quality of care. Maybe I don't want to just be a vegetable. And you can have a say in those decisions. And so why this happens, women, if you're on here, you know, you're giving so much care to others, you forget to give back, and you forget that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And often, those financial decisions may be deterred to your partner. So you say, hey, my husband's not ready to make our estate plan or to talk about a will, and I don't want to make that financial decision alone. And finally, we just think we undervalue ourselves in so many ways, but we also can undervalue our assets. Hey, I have some things, but it's not a lot. And because it's not a lot, I shouldn't take the steps to protect it. But for women, estate planning is particularly important. We are, like I said, increasingly becoming the primary holders of wealth. That may be through a variety of ways, but we also live longer, right? So those two things here means we have to face some financial realities that more than likely will come up to us in our lifetime, even if we are married women. So women live longer than men. They are more likely to become caregivers. They're the people pouring out. They are more likely to experience higher healthcare costs again because they're living longer. And even if you live the majority of your life as a spouse, because you live longer than men, there's a likelihood that you will have to take the financial reins in your household. So when you plan for your estate, you ensure one, financial independence. You know what is going where, how much things should cost. You have a vision for how your retirement or any savings accounts that you have will work into your future, last for the future, for all of a variety of possibilities of what might happen. If I'm healthy, if I'm sick, if I want to move, if I want to live with my children, you want to also make sure that you protected your children and your dependents as you have in your lifetime. You want to carry that same energy, that same thoughtfulness, that same motherly love to what happens even beyond your death. And then, of course, you want to have control over your healthcare decisions. That becomes very difficult conversations you need to have with kids. If you don't have kids, with other people who may be involved or responsible for decisions in your care. This is how I want to live. This is what's important to me. Staying at home is important to me, or not being in this condition that I saw my parents or grandparents in. Having those conversations is an important conduit to what you do in your estate plan, and they play off each other. Hey, I have to make a decision, so let me talk to you about what I want, so you don't just have to read it on paper. You can get a sense from me of what's important to me, how I've lived, and how I want to continue my life in health and in sickness. Okay. So what is an estate plan? A estate plan is really just a strategy. It's documents, yes, but they're all aligned to a strategy of how you want to live in the next phases of possibilities of your life. So you're thinking about how your assets are managed during your life, because you are the first recipient. If you are ever incapacitated, you could potentially be benefiting from the plan you set in place for your own life. And you're deciding who manages your affairs if you become incapacitated. Incapacitation just means you are not legally capable of making decisions for yourself. That can be something sudden, like a car accident, or that could be something dementia where you just no longer have the ability to make legal decisions for yourself. You're also thinking about how your assets are distributed after your death. What goes where to who, at what time, in what amount, in what frequency. And so it doesn't have to just be one, and things are automatically distributed. You can set times, ages, and stages in which things are distributed on a much slower pace, or even on a very long-term pace, right? I want college funds for my kids and everyone in my bloodline. That's certainly something you can do. So an estate plan allows you to protect your wealth, the things you've accumulated, your family, your healthcare decisions, and your legacy, because the philosophy behind how you made money, how you've protected money, how you've saved money can all be implanted into how you put an estate plan together. So now what happens if you do nothing? And we talked about 60% of people, of women, have decided, hey, I'll do nothing. Well, the process is not automatic, even if you have a spouse, right? And there are some steps you can take to avoid this. But if you just die without putting anything in place, your estate will go through probate. It's called intestate probate because you don't have a will to present, but you still have to go to the estate process. Now, this can dig into the money you've left behind for your loved ones. You're giving opportunities for creditors to present claims on your estate. Hey, pay me first before you distribute, before your kids have money to pay the mortgage, before they have money for college funds, or just to continue the life that you've already set up. You have to allow your creditors to get paid and to present their claims. And so the consequences of failing to act, one, you're in court supervision and it's public. Anyone can contest your will. Anyone can put notice that they are a creditor to your estate. There's a public record of everything you own. They will do an accounting. These are the amounts of the bank accounts. These are the amounts of the assets of real property. So it's public knowledge. It's searchable. Anyone can pull that information up about you, your finances, and the state of your affairs. Certainly, there can be potential and often are potential family disputes. One sibling might remember you saying, you get the house. Someone else may remember you saying, you get all the money in my bank accounts. And everyone may have an accurate depiction of something you said at a moment in time, but that may not be a full body thought as to what you wanted to happen to your assets or how you wanted to care for people if you were no longer available. And of course, a delay in asset distribution. All of these things take time. Court takes time, and even something as simple as using your bank account to pay for your burial services can be difficult to your heirs if you do not set up a strong plan in place. In Texas intestacy laws, if someone dies without a will, distribution is determined by the statute, the laws of the state. If you're married with children, your spouse receives things that are under the umbrella of your community property, and your children will receive things that are considered your separate property or your share of the community property. And some of that depends on if your kids are together, if you're a blended family and your kids predated that marriage or were outside of that marriage, that those laws and what you may assume is going to be guaranteed may be challenged. If you're unmarried, if you don't have any heirs, which heirs would be people below you, then it goes to your parents. And if your parents have predeceased you, then it goes to their children. So that may be your siblings. If no siblings, that may be even extended family or distant relatives. You may say, I don't even know those people. Of course, I don't want the things I've worked hard for to go to strangers. I may want to go to my church or my alma mater. But if you do not put a plan in place, those things will not happen. And you lose the ability to control that, right? The Texas law is going to dictate how assets are distributed, and it may be very, very different from your personal wishes, and it may be very, very different from the relationships and the community that you've built in your life. So a comprehensive estate plan typically includes a trust. A living trust is the most general type of trust. It is revocable, meaning it's changeable. You can change it in your lifetime. And of course, it benefits you as the first beneficiary in case of any incapacitation. You also want to get a durable power of attorney. That type of a power of attorney allows someone to make financial decisions in case of your incapacitation. They could pay your mortgage. They could go to the bank and withdraw money on your behalf. A medical power of attorney is different because it allows someone to make medical decisions on your behalf. Yes, they can get a blood transfusion. Yes, they need to get a heart transplant and put them on a list. That is also different from an advanced healthcare directive, which says if you ever need life-sustaining efforts, you can decide what you do want. Yes, I would like a blood transfusion, but no, I do not want if they have to keep me on oxygen or keep my heart pumping. All right, I only need oxygen provided by a machine, I don't want that. It allows you to say, yes, I want this, or no, I don't want that. And last but not least, what we call a pour over will. And it's a will meant to be a catch-all, just saying anything I have not specifically named to my will, into my trust in my lifetime, this will now directs it to go to my trust. And that's usually what's comprehensively included for those who want to avoid the probate process if at all possible, while also putting a plan in place that may be a complete distribution at the time of your death or a more gradual distribution based off of a variety of factors. Now, what is a revocable living trust? The purpose is to allow you to identify your assets and manage them all in one place. So it allows management first in case of incapacitation. Hey, I'm not able to make decisions for myself, so my trust will provide for my medical care, manage my assets, make any distributions to kids, or decide how I want any minors to be cared for. And the benefit, first and foremost, it avoids the cost, the time, the stress of probate. It maintains privacy. It's not a public document. It's not something someone can go to review or also challenge your instructions. And it provides structured distribution to your heirs. I want this to go at this time. Maybe it's triggered by a certain event. You finish college, you get something. You buy a house, you get something. You need a new car, you get something. So a variety of things that you care for in your lifetime, you can still provide for a plan in your death via your trust. So it's the cornerstone of many estate plans because of those great things. You can change it. It can grow and evolve with you as your life changes, as you grow, get married, get divorced. It allows you to make those changes naturally. Now, a pour over will, like I mentioned, it works in tandem with your trust, right? So it's just saying, hey, hopefully, if properly funded, the things that you want to provide for your family members have been named in your trust. But you forgot something. You forgot a life insurance policy from a job 20 years ago. You forgot some other account, and it's not specifically been named as a beneficiary or as the owner. So no problem. The will work to pick up and say, if you forgot something, it still will go to the trust. Why? Because all of your instructions and all the details and all the thought and the love has been left in the instructions in your trust. And you want everyone to go to that same place and get those instructions. One, you want to be fair. Two, you want to make sure that no one gets a benefit that you didn't anticipate. Maybe you meant for all of your kids to share, and then you don't want one person to get something that throws off the balance that you've intended in your trust. So it captures assets that are not specifically named in the trust, and it transfers to the trust upon your death. Now, a durable power of attorney, I mentioned this before, it allows someone to handle and manage your financial matters if you're ever incapacitated. So it just turns on. You do it now, even though you don't need it, and it turns on when you are incapacitated. And that may be determined just with a physician letter, or you may say, I want 2 physicians just to make sure I really am incapacitated. And then at the time that you regain your capacity, then that power of attorney may cease. And the authority, what they can do, they can pay bills, they can manage investments, they can file your taxes, and they can operate your business. So it can remain effective. It can remain effective even after capacity. So you can dictate that in your durable power of attorney. You can say, if I regain capacity, then I'm taking my life back. I'm taking back, or I want to specifically waive this if capacity returns. A medical power of attorney are documents that allow someone to make medical decisions. And there are some natural state defaults that'll go to your heirs or to your spouse. But perhaps you say, I don't want it to be just anyone who's coming in the room. I want it to be this specific person because they have medical knowledge, or they're good at making decisions, or they're good listeners, or they understand my wishes. So you can override what the state default is, especially if you have siblings that you are estranged from, or family members that you're estranged from, and you don't want them to be the responsible party to make decisions, especially important medical decisions. So they get to decide medical treatment, hospital or hospice care, and also surgical procedures. An advance directive sometimes called a living will, allows you to leave instructions for end of care decisions. So that may be life support measures. If there's artificial nutrition, you're going to have a feeding tube, or hydration. And if you don't want to be resuscitated, if this happens, I want you guys to just, let me go, not continue to try to resuscitate me. I'll prefer to just, have a natural passing. So if you're thinking about strategy, and this is Women's History Month, we're trying to be empowered, we're trying to be thoughtful, we're trying to move forward, and strategy is the best way to do it, right? Understanding all the things that can happen, and then making a plan that works for you on what you will want to happen in your case. So if you're single or divorced, estate planning helps you say, hey, I don't want my spouse to be in, or my former spouse to make decisions for me, for my assets that should go to my children, right? So you can take control of what you're leaving behind. You can choose specific beneficiaries. You don't have to, it does not have to be default. It does not have to just go down as it would be required if you went the intestacy route or just the default with the state. And so you're allowed to support all of the community that maybe has supported you, that may be nieces and nephews, that may be charities and other causes close to your heart. And really, it puts you in the driver's seats for your investments, for your assets, and making sure that things continue on. Maybe you have a good strategy, and over the years you have seen your portfolio double and triple, and you want to keep that same energy as you provide for other people. And particularly as mothers, as parents, you want to do things for your kids and transfer over things for your kids, but you want to do it smartly in ways that protect them. If you're a business owner, you want to do it in ways that allow the business to continue and to run and thrive and not just kind of crumble when you are no longer there. And then, of course, insurance is a great way to build assets and build legacy. Even if you didn't have those assets in your lifetime, you can reset the trajectory of your children's life and their children's lives, right? With insurance. So for mothers, often you're thinking about naming guardians for your children, setting up things that allow for growth in education, and protecting inheritances until they get to certain ages. And a great example, mine is every 5 years, right? At 20, 25, 30, 35. You may want to empower your children. You may want those funds to help them in their life, but you may not want it to be a crutch. Hey, I still want you to work hard. I still want you to thrive and push for success in your own life, but this is assistance for you along the way. For business owners, succession planning is not just putting a trust in place. It's what I want to happen to my business. Think about that vision. That may be in 10 years, I want to sell this business for $10 million, right? And so it should have some benefit to you, and thinking about how this business continues on. If I don't want it to continue on, how I can structure it for a sale, how I can structure it for my staff to continue to operate. And key person insurance certainly allows you to have, if the worst does happen at the time of your death, a cash influx, because we know many businesses, if there is a disruption in ownership, need cash to continue operations. So, common estate planning mistakes. Relying only on a will. Probate happens, it's expensive, it's timely, and it causes confusion frequently. 2, not updating beneficiaries. Your life changes. Maybe in your youth or when you were younger, in your 20s and 30s, your mother was your go-to. Something happens to me, she will take the reign. And as she gets older, that may not be possible. That may not be practical for her to take the reign. So you have to look beyond the parental unit to who may be best for beneficiaries and also as decision makers. Protecting digital assets. Hey, somebody going to start posting on your Facebook when you're not there, or you have crypto. How would somebody access it if you're not around, they don't know your passwords? Not funding your trust. Your trust is a great tool, but you have to move things to it in your lifetime. If not, you're still back in the probate boat, because the trust is not empowered. They have to have governance over the assets you leave to it. Delay in planning. Lots of times people come to me or have an initial conversation. I'm thinking this, and then when they come back, the worst has happened. Someone has had an accident. There has been some loss of capacity. And now it's too late to take some basic steps we would have taken initially. Now we're too late, and we're in a more complicated thought process on how to get things done. And then not communicating the plan. It's not meant to be held up in your house or held up in your brain. It's meant to be shared with others so they know how, when, why, where to take action. So how can you take control? One, identify your assets. Often we're doing estate planning and we're in organization mode. We're thinking about what goes where, why, how, where is this asset? Where is this insurance policy? Where is your 401k? And it's really thinking about organizing things so someone can take the reins if necessary. Step two, who are your beneficiaries and how do you want those things to flow to them? Is it outright? Everything goes to them in one lump sum? Is it, hey, I want to make sure that they have the training and education and understanding to manage these assets? So I want to put some precautions in place to make sure that is available to them. Three, thinking about who your decisions makers are. I always tell clients, if someone has never touched assets in the size of your assets, then you don't want your assets to be the test case, right? You want to make sure you're choosing people who are responsible, and often you choose people near dear to your heart. But there are third-party fiduciaries who may be better able and better prepared and have the education necessary to follow your instructions to a T. Step four, working with a estate planning attorney. These can be challenging things to put in place. Certainly, there are legal requirements that you may not be aware of, and you only know what you know, and that is okay. So work with a professional to help make sure you understand what is the right path for you and take that path to put those legal precautions in place. And last but not least, don't set it and forget it. Review it regularly, share it with your family, allow it to become part of your legacy, allow the sentiment behind it to empower them in when they're taking action to follow the steps that you left. And your life may change. It frequently does. That's one of the things we expect with life. So because of that, make sure you review it and make sure it's a good fit for you as your life continues to change and evolve. Now, what is the timing frame for when you should update that estate plan? Certainly marriage or divorce. Have it reflective of those important people in your life at any given time. The birth of a child, that's certainly going to add complications. Hey, you need to think about guardianship. And the birth of one child, if you do it 10, 20, maybe not 20, 10 years later, your life may have changed, your relationships may have changed, and you need to be thoughtful to that. The death of a parent or spouse, they may have been your go-to, your responsible party, and that may no longer be possible. Major financial changes, say you just got in a settlement, or you started 20 years ago, you're making $30,000, and now you make $400,000 a year. Your financial position has changed, and your trust should reflect that. And certainly, as your business grows, as it grows, and you are selling it and exiting the business, you also need to think about, hey, what do my assets look like at this moment? So, just as a rule of thumb, reviewing it every 3 or 5 years helps take those precautions that something in this bubble has changed, and I'm being mindful of it and considering it. So, the great empowerment portion of estate planning. Yes, you are protecting your family. Yes, you are preserving your wealth. You are honoring and creating your own legacy, and you are making your own decisions. Nobody's defaulting. Nobody's telling you what you're capable of, where your assets should go. You are in the driver's seat and making decisions to protect those you love, or it could be causes that are near dear to your heart in your life. So we want to encourage you, take the next step. You're listening now, but it does not have to stop here. Please, please, please contact the Curry Law Firm or any attorney that you know, like, and trust to talk about things like forming your own trust, asset protection, how you can create a legacy through these plans, and even business succession. We're here to help. You can reach out to us at planwithtrust.com or thecofirm.com. Again, my name is Eleanor Curry. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you lift off in this Women's History Month and really take charge of your financial situation and the plans you can put in place for the success of your legacy and your family.